Okay, uh, good evening again. I think there is some issue in YouTube server today. That stream automatically switched off itself for some reason after 5 minutes. So in between, whilst explaining you the Alant case itself, I looked back towards the system and I was able to see that the streaming stopped itself for some reason. So very simply, this is not happening at our end or my end. This is pure YouTube server issue. Initially, the issue was to link to the server itself, and this one here straightforward automatically. I'll repeat the article. Obviously, I will start from the beginning itself. I'm extremely sorry for this from the end of YouTube in that regard. Evening, lot of traffic. It could be that randomly they are closing certain streams, but from this is nothing from our end per se. The stream health and everything is totally fine here. It's purely out of YouTube, and it just stopped the session for some reason. So we'll start again. What we were discussing, if you remember, out of the Aland India Africa economic and the pollution concept itself, we were discussing the aspect related to the Aland voter frauds case and how it revolves around the concept of Form 7. Form 7, which is, we'll try to understand this. This is how it is. Sometimes YouTube privileges certain faculties. The idea is, see, so what we know of the Aland Assembly constituency case is that there has been mass deletion, and that mass deletion has been because of Form 7. So we'll first try to understand what is this concept of Form 7, and the idea the analogy which I was giving you is that disenfranchisement can happen in multiple cases and multiple understandings. The way disenfranchisement happened here was that I have an inclination to vote for party A. Party B realizes that, and in a constituency where 4 or 5,000 votes can be a major difference in that regard, what party B decided was to fill the Form 7 for me, remove my name from the electoral roll. So when I go to the booth to vote, I realize that my name has been deleted from what is called as the electoral roll itself, and therefore my voter ID is invalid, in turn leading to me not to vote itself. And the scale at which it has been done is close to 5994, which is 6,000 voters names were deleted without them knowing. So at the center of this whole case is this concept, which is Form 7. See, Form 7 is used for multiple purposes. I hope all of you are with me and there's no issue. Just say a yes so that I know that everything is properly sorted at your end in that regard. And thank you for your patience with regards to what YouTube is doing right now. But Form 7 is based on the concept of objecting inclusion of name of other person, plus seeking deletion of own name, plus seeking deletion of any other person name in electoral roll due to death and shifting. So this is the form. Form 7, this you can download from. And what is interesting about this form is, my YouTube. Okay, I should be back. I should be back. Yes, should be back. Yes. Yes. So again, extremely sorry for this. Something is happening at the YouTube level. Yes, now visible. So I'll repeat again. I'll just get this sorted. Okay. So we were discussing about Form 7 and the aspect which we were discussing. I have my phone here, so I'll keep on monitoring the stream. There's some issue with regards to YouTube. It is breaking the what we call as stream in that regard. So as we were discussing Form 7, this form is for objecting the addition of someone's name. You can delete your own name also. You can seek deletion of any other person's name also. This is an important point because what happens is that if, for example, my neighbor shifted, I can fill the form for my neighbor. So if we are from the same constituency, a person can fill a form 7 for someone else. And in that case, what happens is that on death and shifting, I can fill someone else's deletion in the electoral roll. And this is where what the BLO's responsibility is, he or she should verify. They should verify if that person is dead or has left. However, what is happening is nowadays BLOs just delete the name without any verification. So what we've established till this point is that there is a form 7 which exists in the National Voters Service Portal, which basically can be used for two things. You can either delete your name, that I am moving to a different constituency, or you can do it for someone else within the same constituency. You can say this person is dead, this person is not available, therefore I am filling form 7. Now, in this very interesting case, what has happened is that there has been fraudulent form 7 filling for people who were actually in the constituency, and this fraud was actually pointed out by the BLO because BLO's brother name was actually added for form 7 and deletion, and she realized that he is neither dead and he's not gone to some other constituency. Therefore, why is this happening? So from a UPSC perspective, you have to understand two very important things. First thing is, what is form 7? Form 7 is a specific form filled for deletion, for objecting someone's addition, and further for the seeking of own deletion in that regard. And this has to be done from the National Voters Service Portal in that regard, which is considered to be a secure understanding, under which you have to put in your mobile number, you will get an OTP, you will make a password, and then you can fill this form. So herein what has happened is, in the case of the Aland case, in 2023 February, BLO's brother's case itself came under form 7, where she became suspicious that why is that my own brother's name has been put into form 7. Under that, therefore, when she started to look at the other cases of form 7, it was realized that there were 40 such cases within the same constituency. And thereafter, when there was a proper returning officer based, assistant commissioners based level understanding and what we call as investigation, it turned out that out of 6,018 forms which had come, only 24 were genuine and 5,994 forms actually made no sense and were not true. And this is where a very big question mark on the server came into context. So, this case of Alan is based on form 7. And form 7 is based on the understanding of National Voters Service Portal, and you can only do it through a process of authentication, through mobile and OTP. And over and above that, you can then make a password and fill these forms for someone else. Now, this is where it is a very interesting case, that how can this be done at the level of 6,000 people? So, when a special SIT was established by the Karnataka government on the request of the what we call as Election Commission, by this point of time, there was a lot of sensationalization that my name has been deleted. Even the opposition was talking about it. The Election Commission itself said that we have registered a case itself. A major investigation went into this case. Now, the investigation timeline is such. From the perspective of UPSC, the investigation per se is not very important. But I will tell you three very glaring issues which have been pointed out in the investigation. What we've established is form 7 can be filled only through mobile OTP, and when it is filled through mobile OTP, it can only be done via the portal itself and through a password. Now, when the SIT started to investigate this case, they realized three things. First, they realized that 24 cases were true, 5,994 cases were fraudulent. Now the question was how to locate these 5,994 cases. Where do we place them? Now, with regards to these 5,994 cases, a certain mobile number was used. And the question was, whose mobile number is this? And more than that, if I want to delete my name, I will put my mobile number, I will get an OTP, and if I get an OTP, I will create a password, then fill form 7. I did not get any notification. Over and above that, how did the OTP reach to the person who was actually doing this in a fraudulent manner in that regard? And this is where there's a very interesting case. There is a reference to what is called as otpbazaar.online. otpbazaar.online is a platform on which random numbers are available through which you can generate OTP and thereafter log in through that. This has pointed out a glaring issue in the OTP universe of India, wherein we are, as it is, very, very reliant on the concept of OTPs in that sense. Further, the person who was involved was no one else but the BJP MLA Subhash Gutedar and his son, who had actually contracted 3 men who were doing this for 80 rupees per form 7 rather. 80 rupees per form 7. These men were given a contract to remove the name of close to 6,000 people from the whole electoral roll itself. And this is a very interesting understanding where the SIT first was not able to get the data from the Election Commission. So they reverse engineered a system through which they were able to reach to Pasha and the whole network and gang which was used in order to do this. Now, again, as I said, this aspect of this article is of no purpose to you because at the end of the day, there is no space for writing something like this in the examination. However, we can use the underlying static here and understanding in order to create a more, you can say, rounded understanding in the larger scheme of things. So, these are the following concerns which have come out through the process of what is called as the SIT, which was established in the Aland case. First, how did mobile number and OTP get accredited without the person actually sharing the OTP? In that, there is a foreign server which is called as the smsactivo.io. This is a US server which India's proxies in the form of the otpbazaar.online. And how can such things exist within the, you can say, web where OTPs are being exchanged for money? First issue. Second issue is once you enter, you have no time limit on how long you can be on this portal. Once the OTP is shared, only one-time authentication is there. And over and above that, the issue of password is also there. Further, the person whose name has been removed was not notified. Nothing per se was told to. This is where you have to understand. See, in a question like this in the examination, where the Aland voters case has pointed out multiple issues in the National Voter Service Portal elucidate, you can use the following mind map. You can use the following mind map in order to create a comprehensive understanding. The mind map is, see, the Aland case can be used in two perspectives in GS paper 3, 2 and 4 with regards to ethics, with regards to science and technology, with regards to how there is cyber attacks and the concept of cyber safety, and the idea related to governance. Because at the end of the day, this is about governance in that regard. So there are three aspects in which the UPSC can ask you a question. The first aspect would be that with regards to the EC, should EC do something about the National Voter Service Portal because it has glaring gaps? Herein lies the concept of something like OTP bazaar, where the concept of cyber security comes through. That are we really having any form of cyber security with regards to OTPs, and we rely on OTPs for everything. And further, the aspect here is that what is the ethical and moral concept for having something like Form 7? When there are multiple systematic revisions happening, when SIR is happening, then what is the point to have a form in which I can delete your name if you're from the same constituency itself? What is the point of something like that? The point which you have to understand is, does India need a Form 7? And if a Form 7 exists, death certificate, shifting certificate, something should be asked. It should not be that I can fill it for you if I'm your neighbor. And BLOs don't go to ground level for accreditation. Further, what should be understood is that if, for example, in this case, BLO's brother name had not gone through, and this whole case would not have come to the public perspective itself, 6,000 voters were going to lose their right to vote, a fundamental aspect of democracy, without them knowing. And why is there no form of communication from the portal itself to a person whose name is being deleted? If we can have very cumbersome processes for everything from addition, why not deletion in that regard? And therefore, glaring issues related to cybersecurity, ethics, and the idea that this portal even secure, and how can we allow certain websites which sell OTPs for money to exist when we talk about cybersecurity itself. So as I said, three major aspects. I hope all of that is clear, right? All that is clear. Everyone, issues should be included in electoral reforms. Yes, very good point. Issues should be included in the electoral reforms, and the IT Act should also have a certain aspects with regards to that. Perfectly fine. Great. The idea is you should be able to answer any of these three aspects. What is the ethics and morality behind it with regards to having something like a Form 7? Further, with regards to cyber security, is this a question mark on the whole cyber security network which is created around the voter ID itself? And further, with regards to EC not creating enough structures within the National Voter Service Portal to allow something like this to not happen. Yes? Can you repeat how OTP bazaar interferes with voter? Did not. Okay, see, Manisha, good to see you. Firstly, see, the concept is these two men, they need to log into the National Voters Service Portal. For that, obviously, they will not put their own numbers. So what they do is they go to otpbazaar.online. In otpbazaar.online, for a fee, you can get a random number and you can get a one-time password on it. This is what they did. When they went to otpbazaar.online, they went there, they generated one number, they generated one OTP without the person whose real number. It could be my number also. And through that OTP, they logged into the National Voter Service Portal. Once logged into National Service Portal, they were able to further then change the password and create fraudulent accounts through which 7,000 such applications were made. Across 15 states, this was done. That is why close to 8 lakh devices were under question when it came to this, you can say, the case itself. That is why the SIT had to figure out a way to go work backwards to figure out who these men are, and in that IP addresses were used in order to basically pinpoint who these men were. So I hope, Manisha, you understand that OTP is needed to enter first. If you don't get the OTP, you will not be able to enter the portal itself. This, Tarak, this can be done at a mass scale itself. Enough numbers and enough OTPs can in turn lead to something like this. So I hope that you realize that this is not a very random thing. It's not a joke. It is a very difficult thing, which very difficult thing to figure out also. And you should also understand Form 7 makes no sense. If you go to the understanding of Form 7 itself, see, application for objecting inclusion of name of other person. Sure. Seeking deletion of own name. Fine. but seeking deletion of other person's name due to death and shifting without asking for death certificate and shifting certificate is as it is. You have to give what is called as character certificate, transfer certificate before you go to some place. How can somebody remove the name of the voter without even asking for certain certificates like this? And it is not very difficult to actually create something with regards to this also. Fraudulent certificates can also be made. But the point is, if I am logging into this account, why should I be able to delete someone else's understanding? Either the surviving family member should be able to, and we have systematic revisions of the electoral roll also that will be pointed out in the SIRs. Why are we creating a mechanism in which where we can disenfranchise people without them knowing about it also? So this is where you have to understand that a question like this has to work at different levels. So can I move to the next topic? Everyone, good evening. Everyone, come on. I'll not say anything about the server because I'm scared something will change, but we have good server health as of right now. So good evening, good evening. Can we move ahead? Yes, very good. My number may be used, OTP is generated without my knowledge. How do they get the OTP without informing? That is the question, Manisha. That is the whole question. It's a US based server which can randomize numbers and somehow send OTPs which don't even reach your number and can be sent to that server itself. There is a glaring issue here which has to be pointed out and which has to be sorted. Okay. The second topic, we come back to the realm of international relations and India, Africa. And this topic talks about how India can unlock the relationship with Africa further. A lot of good data can be used for GS paper 2 quite well. And it is based on two very interesting contexts. Within this year itself, in July, our Prime Minister visited Namibia and Ghana. And within the same space, by just last week, he went to Ethiopia. All African nations. Within the presidentship of G20 of India, African Union also joined G20. And India and Africa, Africa as a continent, India as a nation, share a shared colonial experience and have multiple cultural ties also. Be it from the ancient, from the medieval, be it in the modern Indian phase, we have had multiple forms of connections with this world. And more than that, we also inspired national movements in that regard, in that sector. So, what this article says is we can further harness this relationship and take it further. This is a pure UPSC type article. So, what it does first is it tries to create a certain differentiation. Differentiation meaning what is India doing and what is China doing. Meaning China has invested quite a lot. If you go to any African port or any, you can say any African airport, the French, English and then Mandarin is being used in the signboards. That is the amount of, you can say, information, and that is the amount of money, and that is the amount of investment which has gone from China into these, you can say, countries in that regard. Now, the largest supplier or largest investor in Africa is China. We are the fourth largest. We have we have trade half of what China has, over 200 billion. We have nearly 100 billion. This accounts for 21% of China. China accounts for 21% of all imports into Africa as a continent. We only account for 6%. And India's export stands at 38.17 billion. We are having three major trade partners, which is Nigeria, South Africa, and Tanzania. And we are sending petroleum products, engineering products, pharmaceuticals. Now, vis-a-vis this, if you look at China, they are sending machinery, electrical equipment, and industrial goods. Now, this is where the article points out that there's a fundamental difference in the engagement of India and China, because India is sending commodities. India is sending commodities, whilst China is sending machinery. Machinery means that it is part of the industrial process. So they are generating commodities in Africa. We are sending commodities. So we are more reliant on finished goods export rather than secondary export or primary export in that regard. And this is where this article says that if we have to harness the relationship and double this relationship by 2030 and make Africa a good trade partner, and the reason for that being, as it is, European markets are problematic and Trump is finicky and the tariff wars has already made the relationship with America very problematic. We need to look for alternative markets. And when we are looking for alternative markets, you have to understand that herein lies a very interesting concept that we should base our relationship on what is called a five-fold structure, 5 pillars we should work on. Now, these 5 pillars are important because they can be used in the examination. So, the first pillar which is being talked about is called as trade liberalization. Trade liberalization is very, very important because we have certain barriers with certain states and certain countries there. So we have to work on preferential trade agreements. We have to work on comprehensive economic programs, and we have to also work on FTAs. This will allow us to have better access in the market and better understanding in that market where we can challenge China through our goods also. So first is liberalization. I'll create a mind map for you. So don't worry. We'll try to understand everything in the most comprehensive way possible. Then it is value added manufacturing. This is a very important point. We have to shift from commodities to manufacturing, which is rather than just sending prime, you can say finished goods, let's become part of their supply chain. Let's become part of their value chain. If we can do that, we in turn can diversify our exports also. We can use the African resources to import something back also and have a more intertwined relationship. As of right now, Africa can very simply export substitute or what is called as import substitute, which is if they're getting it from India, they can get it from China. We have to become intertwined in their processes so that we are able to understand everything in the best way possible, but also use that understanding to become part of the supply chain. So it is not just about liberalization, it is about getting supply chain integrated. Further, we have to make sure that our micro and small enterprises are able to invest and get involved in African trade. It is an open canvas and they can use this opportunity to become part of this larger universe in that regard. Logistics and connectivity with regards to port access and corridors are equally important. And India being a service-based economy, we should be able to expand our service export also. We should make Africa our priority so that healthcare, skilled labor, and even what we call as tourism or tourist-based understanding should be reciprocal in that regard. So, let's talk about India-Africa. India-Africa has a lot of potentiality. With regards to the potentiality, we are the 4th largest in that regard, and we have the potentiality to at least become the 2nd largest behind China. For that, we need a 5-fold intervention. We need a 5-fold intervention. The first one would be FTAs, and preferential trade agreements. Further, second, it should be what is called as supply chain integration. Supply chain integration. Third has to be the micro and small enterprises should be able to get connected to the African market. Third is the idea that we should be able to at the same point of time use logistical and connectivity based, you can say, integration. Last but not the least is that we also should export service. Via these 5 sectors or 5 pillars, we can change this from 4th largest to at least 2nd largest. And why is this very, very necessary? Because of the concept of alternative markets. India has to look beyond Europe and the US, and alternative markets are very, very important in that regard. Now, there are certain challenges also. Those challenges come out of two concepts. The first challenge is that most of the money which is routed towards Africa is done through Mauritius. And this Mauritius based routing for tax efficiency is leading to bigger problems and a certain sense of suspiciousness. Because Mauritius has good trade, you can say, policies, and all over and above that, tax policies, everything should not be routed through Mauritius, because that creates suspicion that you don't want to invest directly in the economy itself. And second is that there are multiple bureaucratic hurdles as of right now to invest in Africa as a continent, and we need to create a national policy for investing in Africa also. So therefore, if we have to go forward, which is the way forward, I have put everything into a certain table so that you can use this information in the larger scheme of things as the best. You don't have to systematize, you don't have to go through the article, everything is in the table. Just use this, add this to your, you can say, existing India Africa notes, and you're sorted. First is we have to have PSU based intervention. Only when Indian PSUs are going to invest with governmental support, there will be an ecosystem which will be created for Africa. Second, mining and mineral exploration is very important. Africa is a mineral rich continent in that regard. Further, we have to move from transactional to sustainable trade relations. This is a very important point. As of right now, we have a good relationship with Ethiopia, so we have a good relationship in trade also. Transactional meaning they are giving us something, we are giving them something. But the strategy should not be for one nation and should not be just based on transaction. It should be an overall approach where we can long term invest in this relationship in order to counter China also in that sense. Supply chain reintegration and restructuring in India and integration there. And at the same point of time, innovation and very active R&D through which we can have groundbreaking developments for their environment, for their ecosystem, for their manufacturing is equally important. So, a question in the examination will be worded like this. But I have a prelims question here also, and I would expect all of you to answer it. All of you to answer it, and I will read that question out and you will tell me what is the answer to that question. Before that, let's discuss the mains aspect here. India's engagement with Africa must go beyond transactional trade and move towards building long-term sustainable partnership. This line I've picked up directly from the article. This is how UPSC makes questions. This is just directly picked up from the article, and they've added elucidate. Elucidate means you have to demonstrate. Now, in order to demonstrate something like this, you have to talk about the present relationship, and you have to talk about the 5 pillars on which a sustainable partnership can be made. From supply chain integration to service-based understanding to logistical understanding to MSME, and at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we counter China in the most holistic way possible to play in the same game or to play the same game which they are playing. So this is the first aspect, which is you have to be able to understand FTAs, supply chain, MSME, logistics and service. But there is one more type of question which can come, and I want everybody to answer this question. I'll read it out to you. With reference to India-Africa economic relations, consider the following statements. India is Africa's 4th largest trading partner. Around half of Africa's imports in 2024 originated from India. China's export to Africa are dominated by machinery and electrical equipment. Indian investment in Africa are significantly inflated due to routing from Mauritius. Which of the statements are correct? What is the answer to this question? Come on, tell me. I'm looking at the chat. Come on, everyone. Tell me, what is the answer to this question? See, Ruchika, supply chain integration and logistics means having proper corridors is the logistics part. Supply chain integration not in India, but in their supply chain to constructively contribute. Everybody is till now saying B. UPSC aspirant Joshna is saying C. Avantika Pandey is saying B. Manisha is saying B. Madan, Tamil, B. Okay, totally correct. Totally correct. See, this is the incorrect statement here. Are we the fourth largest trading partner? Yes. Is China exporting to Africa machinery and electrical equipment? Yes. Is India investing through Mauritius? Yes. This is incorrect. Not 50%, but only 6%. So this becomes like an extreme statement. This is how these type of questions are worded and made in the larger scheme of things to do understand that India-Africa economic relations can be understood in this understanding in that regard. A question like this, which is based on international relations, is also a current affairs based question. Can we move to the next topic? Yes? Everyone, all clear? Leverage, yes, good point. Astitva, great, thank you so much. Okay. Now, moving to the third topic, before we do that, what have we understood till this point? We've understood what is called as Form 7, the National Voters Service Portal. We've understood what is the Aland voters case or fraudulent case, fraud case in Karnataka. And we have also understood three aspects with regards to cyber security, with regards to ethics, and with regards to governance coming into context. At the same point of time, we have also now understood the second aspect, which is what is called as India-Africa relationships. And India-Africa relationship, we've understood three aspects. What is the extent? What is the, you can say, way forward? And what is the 5 pillars? Extent is fourth largest, a lot of scope. Way forward is PSUs, better understanding, supply chain integration. 5 pillars would be FTAs, service-based understanding, supply chain integration, logistical corridors, and the idea that we also have to not just route through Mauritius, but also have direct investment into Africa. So just as a small recap, I'll keep on doing this so that you don't have to watch this session 2-3 times. You can understand everything in this one go itself. So this is a never-ending saga. We've seen a meltdown of a certain news anchor over this issue also. Year on year, we have had this understanding, this conversation multiple times, which is that Delhi has an issue of PM 2.5 and 10, not a new thing. But this time it has become too severe. Meaning it used to be in 150, 200, 250. I've lived in Delhi for close to 28-30 years and it used to reach 300, 350. Maximum 400. This time it started at 350 and it is now hovering around 600, 700, which is not a joke. It is not a joke that people who are in Delhi, aspirants who are in Delhi, are literally smoking 20 to 30 cigarettes a day when they are breathing the air in Delhi in that regard. The parliament had no meaningful discussion on this. And with regards to what is being defined as the Aravalis in the new bill itself, as Mukesh sir has discussed recently, even the lungs of Delhi, which is the ridge, may be also under threat of mining and metallurgical, you can say, research and mining. Illegal mining still happens, but formalized mining in that regard. Now, this article actually argues one very simple thing, which is that if Beijing was known for being the capital of PM 2.5 or pollution capital of the world, and now all major cities which are polluted are in India only, how was Beijing able to change it? What can we learn from Beijing? What is the lesson to be learned here? Meaning, what should be the strategy of Delhi government and the central government to change something like this? After a very long time, close to now 10, after a decade, both the governments are same also. So there should not be any conflict of interest or conflict, political conflict per se. Now, There are two aspects which have been pointed out. One, what is China model, and the other, what is Delhi model or Indian model in that. The first one says that China, when they realized that Beijing is under pollution threat and the people of Beijing are under a severe, you can say, health threat, the threat of the health, you can say the value of human life and the health impacts of something like this with regards to respiratory diseases is big. They created a deliberative, long-term strategy to do something. In Delhi's case, it is episodic. What does episodic mean? Which is, this year it is 600, so we all are hyperventilating. Next year it will only be 200, we will not say anything. This year somebody made an issue out of it, next year nobody is going to make it. Stubble burning has always been talked about as an issue, but this time it is not just stubble burning, but the vehicular pollution is also a problem. So we don't have a long-term vision, we have an episodic vision. Crisis is there, we will now sort it. Further, there are 2 to 3 major policies which were followed in China, whilst in India, multiple policies are applied along with multiple institutions. You have the graded action plan, the environmental protection plan, the air prevention and control of pollution plan, pollution mitigation plan, and over and above that, whilst in China, there was a centralized understanding that both the center and the state have to come together, and even the center has a role in doing it. That is centralized understanding. In Delhi, it is fragmented, some responsibilities with the Central Pollution Control Board, some responsibility with the Delhi government, some responsibility with the central government. Right now, there's no accountability for nothing. Further, if you look at it, too many laws and lack of accountability. You tell me right now, who can you go and say to that there has been a problem, there is a pollution in Delhi, you are accountable for it? Nobody is going to say. Even the environment minister of Delhi or the central environment minister, the cabinet minister of environment, they both will say it is not a responsibility. State government responsibility, central pollution control board responsibility, we are not going to do it. And this is where there's a major issue in the way we approach this issue, which is from a centralized aggressive plan to a very fragmented, episodic, what we call as erratic way of responding to something like. Now, what the article further points out for you, because getting a question on this should not be something surprising. So what I've done is I've collated the issues and the way forwards together for you. Now, what are the issues? And the list of issues is big. Issues which is in turn leading to not getting a solution for Delhi's pollution issue. I'll ask you one, a very value added, you can say value loaded question rather. If Delhi government wants and the central government wants, can the Delhi pollution be sorted, yes or no? You tell me. Can it be? Very simple, straightforward understanding. If there is political will from the Delhi government and there's political will from the center, can we sort this issue out? Yes or no? You tell me. China's vertical reform where local officials were accountable. Yes, true. True, Vikas. What is the answer to that question? Meaning, what I'm trying to ask you is Delhi a gone case or Delhi can be saved? And the answer, as you said, is obviously yes. If there is a political will, there's a will, there's a way. Till now, there is no political will per se to sort this issue. In India, pollution is not an election issue. Pollution and your health is not an election issue. There is no accountability for issues such as what we have discussed. Now, first is there is no enforcement. Very weak enforcement. There is, right now, there would be construction ban in Delhi, NCR region. Still construction would be happening. because land mafia, construction mafias are going to bribe people and they're going to still do it. So the accountability of weak enforcement does not fall on anyone. Therefore, things will still be done. Putting sprays at ITO is not going to change the AQI of Delhi. And over and above that, just spraying water around the AQI stations itself is also not going to do anything. Therefore, the institutional authority, Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board, they are understaffed, under-resourced. There is no accountability with regards to the mandate itself. There is just only bureaucratic red tapeism, nothing else. Further, limited coordination between the even the AQI centers with the Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board, graded action plan, no coordination per se. Somebody is sprinkling water somewhere, somebody is doing something somewhere. There is no integrated centralized approach here. Further, we still are having Delhi being reliant on thermal power plant. Thermal power plant would mean that all the NCR based and even North Delhi and West Delhi based thermal power plants, if they are going to generate electricity for the city and we have no alternative for it, it will further add to the pollution in the neighboring areas, and therefore it will manifest itself in the form of acid rain, in the form of pollution and smog for sure. So there is no energy transition plan for Delhi also planned as of right now. That can we get renewable energy from other states? Can we do something about, or can we have rooftop solar power plants and rooftop solar power based programs which can run in Delhi where alternative energy can be used also? Though Delhi is not a good area for solar power because of its environment and because of, for most of, you can say at least 5 months it has a cloud cover, and again for at least 2 to 3 months it's very cold, so sunlight is not enough. So it would have to be harnessed from Rajasthan or from Haryana, from states which still can provide some form of solar energy. Further, industrial relocation. This is a very interesting point. Industries which are Okhla, Noida, whatever industries are there are still there. Polluting industries still exist within the NCR region, within habitable zones. They have not been asked to relocate. So if there is fundamental issue with regards to industry and thermal power plants being in the same city, there is not going to be any qualitative change generally. Further, we have no real enforcement of Bharat Stage 6, Bharat Stage 5, and Delhi, because it is the national capital, Bharat Stage 4, 3 cars still are entering into this sector, and on paper there is enforcement. They are basically trying to impound the cars. There's a lot of things which are done on paper. So with regards to vehicular PUC and just saying that giving we will only give petrol if you will give a PUC is again an eyewash, because the petrol pump guy is going to take money and give you the petrol itself. So why is that there is no specific plan for Delhi with regards to electric mobility? Just making the buses electric is not going to change. Are we, for example, I'll give you a very simple example of this. And this is where political will can change. If I buy, for example, a EV car in Delhi, I get no incentives. If I buy an EV car in UP, the road tax is waived off. Meaning the same car will be 5 to 6 lakhs rupees cheaper in UP than in Delhi. Why can't Delhi government forgo road tax on EVs? That would encourage people to move to EVs. Now, EVs are not the answer. We already know it, because EV, where the electricity is coming for is the question also. Is it a green source or is it actually based on thermal power plants? Is a separate issue. But vehicular pollution, odd even, is not going to do anything. That was a Kejriwal type understanding. Odd even is not going to do anything, because enough odd cars are there, enough even cars are there. The question is, we have to create a graded action plan where we have and understanding, where we are also long-term incentivizing people to shift to EV. Further, monitoring is another joke which happens in Delhi. You must have seen those reels in which the sprinkler truck was going around the AQI center only, so that the data would go down. Now, with everybody having an AQI sensor and having an air purifier in Delhi as it is, everybody knows how much the AQI level is in their house. So please don't try to create an eyewash where there is no comprehensive plan to do something about PM 2.5 generally. Further, no heavy penalties on non-compliance. You also know that. Further, there is no preventive action. It is all curative action, which is that we are always looking for a cure, no prevention with regards to pollution. And last but not the least is there is no structural change. As a lot of you have pointed out in the chat section itself, what is needed is a more comprehensive strategy which is based on proper implementation of long-term vision. Long-term vision is not there as of right now. That is also indicative in how we are doing our waste management. Delhi has multiple landfills also. Wazirpur is there. We have no proper waste management. There is the waste burning also, plastic burning also is being done. At the same point of time, short-term side or short-term interest we have. Further, if you look at it, we know that there are meteorological challenges. You cannot always push everything or all the blame towards, for example, the western disturbances or the upper air circulation which brings the stubble, you can say stubble burning towards Delhi itself. And at the end of the day, nothing can change if behavior does not change. And let's be very honest, this is a fundamental issue. Behavior issue is equally fundamental, where we are still burning waste in our, you can say, RWAs. We are not doing enough at the grassroots level in that regard. The people have awareness, but they don't do enough. Everybody's basic solution is, if you're rich, you get an air purifier. If you're poor, you are dying. So if you look at the list of issues, I told you the list of issues in this article are very comprehensive. Even if you're able to put 50% of these three tables in the examination, you are in a very good zone to score the highest number of marks. Further, now is the $1,000,000 question. But before I move to way forward, we understand the issue. I think most of you already know this issue quite well. You understand this issue quite well. Delhi firecrackers is one episode. Firecrackers is only one episode. This is a structural issue, long-term issue. R&D in pollution control, yes, very good point. Public transportation should be strengthened, very good point. Yes, very good, Joshna. Proper implementation, sustainably going forward, very good. Good. Points are very good. Issues you all have now understood in that regard. Okay. Now let's try to understand how do we go forward in this. This is the principle. This is what is to be done. First major way forward is shift from episodic to sustainable mission mode strategy. Meaning we need to have a 2-year, 5-year vision here. Meaning Delhi's pollution is a public health emergency and needs to be taken seriously, and there has to be a graded action plan which is not just for the winter months but across summers also. 2, 3, 4-year strategy, long-term strategy has to be there, wherein preventive measures have been taken. Meaning if you want odd and even or electric mobility, you can't do it just in episodic manners. You have to do it sustainably over a period of time. Further, energy transition, which is rapid shift to clean energy, be it the government buildings, be it private buildings, finding alternatives and getting cleaner energy is very, very important for Delhi generally, which equally includes coal phasing out. Delhi is very coal reliant when it comes to its energy and doesn't need to phase that out also. Energy efficiency, be it sector wise, be it in the PSUs, be it in the industries, equally important with regards to water and air. Enforcement, this is the most important. Accountability, enforcement. Who is the person who is accountable? Is it the CM? Is it the environment minister? Is it the Supreme Court? Technically not the Supreme Court. Is it the central government? Is it the central, you can say, Minister of Environment and Climate Change? Who is it? Somebody has to do something. It cannot be that everybody is saying, you go to that other person. They are responsible, they are responsible, they are responsible. Can't be like that. Somebody has to be responsible. And this is where, if there's a question like this, Delhi needs a comprehensive overhaul of its pollution mitigation strategy. Comment. Will you be able to write an answer for this question? Yes or no? Come on, tell me. Will you be able to write an answer for this question? Do you have enough fodder for this? I'll say that anthropology, don't worry. Manisha, that is the whole point. I try to present all tables because sometimes it is very difficult for you to make notes itself. What is the point of reading, going through the PPT when you have to make notes out of the PPT itself? So I'm giving you these tables because I want you to have a good comprehensive understanding, and the PPT itself is your notes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very good. Okay. A lot of you are, all of you are making very good points today. And as always, you all are on point. Just systematize your understanding. Because, see, some articles are rhetorical. For example, the Aland one, first one, was pure rhetorical. We don't really know, we don't care how this SIT is going to do it, because that is not how UPSC asks questions. These are topics which are very, very, very critical for the understanding, because they give us fodder for the mains answer also. And for prelims perspective, we can also get certain, for example, consider the following. What can be done for Delhi pollution? At least you can understand tangentially also in that regard. Okay. Moving on to another very interesting issue which has been pointed out by the Hindu today, which is justice in consumer courts. You all must have, or I think we all are from that generation where Jago Grahak Jago and the idea of consumer courts was glorified quite a lot. We were shown multiple ads where if people were duped of multiple things, they were going to consumer courts, and that red dot with Jago Grahak Jago was very, very important. That you as a consumer have to awaken. You have to come out of your slumber. Now, what is interesting is the consumer courts in India. There is so much pendency here that grahak to jag gaya, but courts don't have the capacity to even absorb the what we call as existing cases as of right. Same story as what happens in our district courts, sessions court, high courts and Supreme Court. Not that much in Supreme Court, but at least the sessions court and the district courts. Same story here. Now, how do we know about this, which is this concept of speedy justice, which was talked about, that you will get very quick justice. People were getting 10,000, 15,000, some form of compensation for not getting enough services, this and that. But now you will only get that once you are able to win that case. Now, based on a reply from the Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution in the Parliament, the number of cases which are pending and the number which has been indicated is astonishing. Again, don't learn the number, understand the core issue here. Understand the core issue here. See, total pending cases as of January 30th, 2024, not even this year, last year, 5.43 lakh complaints are pending across district, state and national consumer commissions. Fresh cases which came in 2024 were 1,73,000. Total cases disposed was 1,58,000. So this number of cases which were added, we were not able to even break even in that regard. Net increase in pendency is 14,900 cases, meaning 15,000 cases get added year on year. And the trend is that 78,000 new complaints have been filed till July, and 65,000 has been disposed, which means that this 5.43 lakh have not been touched also. New cases we are not able to manage. The pending cases are already there. And the statutory time limit which was given under Consumer Protection Act was 3 months if no testing, 5 months if testing. And adjournments were not encouraged in consumer court proceedings. However, the ground reality is totally different. So this is the issue. 5.5 lakh cases pending. Year on year, there is a deficit of 10%. And more or less, we are not able to even break even and go to the pending cases in that. Now, the issue is there, but why? Why? And the why is quite standard to how healthcare sector, even other sectors work. Structural bottlenecks, standard. There are 18 president positions empty within the commissions, 62 member posts which are pending. Further, district commissions, 218 president positions and 518 members positions are not there. Purely understaffed. Further, no limited number of courtrooms, not adequate courtrooms, poor logistical support. The cases are still not digitized, all based on standard paperwork. Members lack their understanding of the subject matter. Adjournments happen because expert opinion has to be taken, and therefore no service on the notices, late affidavits, expert opinions come very late, and that creates a loop of Tariq pe Tariq, Tariq pe Tariq, Tariq pe Tariq. That is what is happening here. The people are not there. The men who are involved are not experts. Further, expert opinion comes very late, and courtrooms are not there, and digitization of the cases are not there. And it would seem to be quite paradoxical to come to this conclusion. Quite paradoxical that this is the case in that regard. That at the end of the day, we talk about consumer protection, we talk about consumer data protection, but we don't still have the right mechanism for conflict redressal and consumer redressal in that regard. So again, please don't learn the numbers here, 518, 62, 18, 21, though that is not what is to be learned. What is to be learned is the overall trend here. Trend is very straightforward. When we talk about consumer protection, we have 5.5 lakh cases pending, and there is still no real intervention from the government. And why is this the case? Infrastructure, issues of infrastructure, issues of staff, plus experts, plus no technology being used. Still based on the same concepts of filing the case, and everything is being kept on case-to-case basis on paper. So, interesting, but unfortunate, because this should not have been the case generally. The High Court and Supreme Court issue is totally different. See, criminal cases, still you understand. Consumer Protection Act gives you a redressal time of 3 to 5 months. Here, the cases are pending for year on year. So it is very difficult for somebody who has gone through a actually proper trauma because of a service or because of a product. Their justice is awaiting. Justice delayed is justice denied. And this is where consumer justice is equally important. Because if I have paid for something and I'm not getting justice for it, it is problematic. There may be a certain lobby which is working against something like this also, but we can go beyond that, and we should go beyond that. Now, before I move to the prelims oriented topics, we have discussed 4 major topics. I want to give you a micro revision before we move to the last 2 topics, because these 4 are mains oriented and need your attention also. First, we discussed about Form 7. Please remember, this form is available on the National Voter Service Portal, and the issues of ethics behind it, the need for it, and over and above that, governance. Why was it that a BLO had to intervene, and what this was being done covertly, and the cyber security of every voter is being now questioned. Second thing which we were able to understand is India, Africa, and with regards to Africa and India, we have to become a part of the supply chain. We have to, at the same point of time, make sure that we don't do commodities export. We are able to create FTAs, MSMEs are involved, and at the same point of time, service-based exports are promoted. Then we were able to understand just right now what is the concept of consumer protection, and what is the pendency in that. But the most comprehensive article which we discussed today is Delhi pollution, and how based on how China was able to reverse it, Delhi needs a long-term strategy. Episodic, it should not be. It should not be fragmented, centralized, based on energy, based on alternative energy, based on vehicular policy, based on enforcement, and the most important, accountability. Do we understand these four? If we do understand these, we will then move to the last two. Yes. Avya Shukla, I'll do that. It is there. You may not be able to find it. I'll push it. No issues whatsoever. Are we clear about this? Yes? Okay. Now, the ISRO is recently going to launch the LMV-3M6 mission, under which it is going to place Bluebird Block 2 satellites, a commission or a contract which has come to it through the US-based AST Space Mobile, you can say, company. Now, why is this significant? Because India is now becoming part of what is called as the next generation communication satellite system, and this gives at least ISRO a training in what is called as internet-based communication and internet-based mobile communication. So AST Space Mobile is building a space-based cellular network, and there are 5 satellites which have to go, and India is going to push the second one. And this is going to be important because it will create like what is called as the Starlink network of satellites, through which cellular network is not specific to towers but to space. Now, why is this important? Because it is a launch of the ISRO. Second, it is going to happen on 24th December. Third, it is important, most probably I'll be discussing this on 24th. And third, it is because it is based on a futuristic technology which is called as mobile based satellite network or space mobile networks, something which AST Mobile is using, and India is getting access to those satellites, gives us some form of basically R&D base so that we can, and ISRO can also develop something like this. Simple, straightforward topic, needs further expansion once it is in place, as we'll discuss on 24th. Last topic is based on a term. Terms can be in the news, and there's a new term which was there in the science page, which is called Superkilonova. So supernovas are known, kilonovas are known. Superkilonova was in the news recently, wherein, see, the concept of cosmic explosion is known, wherein if two stars which are revolving around each other, they start to move towards each other because of their gravitational force, and they collide. That is called a moment of what is called as neutron stars colliding, and that's called a kilonova or supernova. When two stars collide with one another, they create gravitational waves. At the same point of time, they also create a lot of elements, which is gold, platinum, neodymium, which are considered to be elemental elements to create life and what is called as celestial bodies such as the Earth. Now, what they have found is there is something called a superkilonova, wherein when the first collision happens, some material still is outside. When that material, or when that what we call as matter, starts to move towards again the resultant kilonova, it then again supercharges it, and there's one more explosion. One explosion leads to the kilonova, that in turn leads to a new matter, that again collides with the kilonova, creating a superkilonova. And that is where the concept of a superkilonova comes. You can say dual impact understanding. One a kilonova, then a superkilonova. Just remember, superkilonova is related to the concept of stars, neutron stars, collisions, and gravitational waves. If all of these four are used, it is basically related to this one. So, on this note, I hope that these 7 topics are totally clear in your mind. I am extremely grateful for your patience today. I think for the past 1.5 hours, nothing has happened because there was some issue with regards to YouTube server issues. Session stopped. One was not getting connected. One in this you can say stream itself, there was initially a little bit of jittering. I really appreciate your patience. Thank you so much. Remember, tomorrow CNA is going to happen again at 10 a.m. But on day after tomorrow, we'll be back at 5. This is a makeshift arrangement. We'll always be at 10, but please do show patience when we are trying to figure something out based on scheduling. So on this note, I hope that everything is perfectly fine, and both at a prelims and mains level perspective, you're all good and you're all sorted. So thank you, take care, and bye-bye.